for about 9.5 years. And I had never made God a priority in myself or in my marriage. And during the last 2 years, we had gotten to a point where there was just so much distance that all I felt was resentment with some things that were going on. Other than that, I was emotionless. I failed God, and I failed myself, and I failed my husband, and my marriage came to an end. And in that time, when I was off on my own, I found out that I had nobody in my life. Where I thought I was so surrounded by friends constantly, there was really nobody that was close to me. To say that I was depressed would be such an understatement, because I was in so much despair. I had actually researched how to, in the gentlest way possible, end my life, because I felt like I was at a point where there was no return. I truly felt completely hopeless. And that same week that I was going through so much, a man who later became my husband, who I knew very indirectly through work, he knew what I was going through, and he asked me to start going running with him, and just to kind of get out of the house a little bit. And I learned from him about the church that he went to. So I went by myself, and that was a really scary thing to do, just to walk in, knowing that I felt so completely alone anyway, and I was hanging on by a thread. So I show up at church by myself, and the greeter at the time, I guess he could tell by me looking around that I was new. He asked if it was my first time, and I told him that it was, and he was so awesome. He walked me around, got me a cup of coffee, showed me the place, offered for me to sit with his family, which I didn't do. So I just went, sat by myself. I had a great experience, and after it was over, he came back up to me and just told me that he was really glad that I had came, and he really hoped to see me again the next week. He introduced me to his family, and it was an amazing experience. And I didn't realize at the time, but it was the beginning of my next chapter. I had to have my life based on God. And so that was really such a significant moment for me, the way this guy treated me and really noticed me. I needed someone to notice me. I had a talk with Robbie, and I told him how much I was hurting, and I just didn't know how to move forward. And he said, "Jaime, I feel like you're waiting for this miraculous healing to overcome you, and I'm afraid that you're going to spend the rest of your life waiting for something that's not going to happen, because I just don't think that's the way it works. I think we are left with scars from the things that we go through in our life to remind us of where we were and where God has brought us to. And that pain is there for a reason, because when you're sharing your story with somebody else down the road, it's not just going to be empty words. You know, you're really going to remember, and you're really going to be able to make a difference for somebody else when you share with them." And I said, "Well, I just want to know that I'm living God's will this time. I don't want to make decisions that are based on what I want. I want to be living in His will." He said something that really impacted me. He said, "You are living in God's will because His will for you is to be in a constant relationship with Him, for you to be spending time in prayer and spending time in Scripture and really knowing Him and living out His character, and you're doing that." And he said, "The rest is on you. It's time to start living." Me and Stephen got married, and before we even came back from our honeymoon, God had blessed us with a baby. God knew that I needed that man for me to be the best me that I could be, and for me to be in a constant relationship with Him. And I'm so grateful. God was nudging me to take steps. And so Robbie would talk a little bit about serving. And so I stepped up to do that, and I started serving with what is now guest services. I wanted to make the same difference for somebody else that had been made for me. I wanted to notice somebody when they were really struggling and when they were new and uncomfortable. Where I had no friends in my life before starting to serve, I became part of a team, and I became not just somebody who showed up at church, I became part of the church, and it just felt amazing. And God just continued to fulfill my life every time I would take a step of action. And the people that I met through serving alongside of, they ended up being the people in our wedding. and the people that I go on vacation with and that I do life with on any average day. And it's just, he has fulfilled me so abundantly. I just really feel a responsibility now that I know what it means to be in a relationship with him. I have to continue to serve and figure out where can I make the most impact. Part of the serving that I did was at Opportunity House, and it's where there's typically about 125 guests that come in. They're elderly, homeless, or just in really struggling situations, and it's our chance to go out and feed them a meal and treat them as if they're at a restaurant. There's worship service and a message. So for them, this is really, for a lot of them, this was church for them every Sunday, and a highlight in their week. I remember so many occasions where I was going to do God's work and serve others, but God was doing work in me all along.